There it is. Yeah. Boop, boop, boop. Yes, it is Thursday. It is 9. So, of course, it's UK Cowboys time. How we doing? Scottish, Alpha, and Bravo.
Flexing, mate. Aye, pretty not too bad, not too bad. Just finished up work. Just happy to talk some football and get to see your lovely faces, gentlemen, as usual.
Yes. It's been a while since I've spoken to you both because we all seem to be. It's that time of year where everyone's got things going on, so it's gonna
All
happen.
the season, friends visiting, friends visiting from Texas. Tired from seeing castles, tired from driving all across the country. I don't know about you, Drew, but I am knackered.
Do you think they've started loading the wagons for Oxnard yet?
I bet you they're already there.
Yeah, probably. I will know though that my friend Sean is actually in Italy with Tyron Smith right now. I know that right now. He's still in Italy right now. So they're kicking up, having a nice relaxing time in Amari, Italy. It's like near the Lake District area, I think it is.
Tell him to take care around the pool.
Aye.
And hold the banisters when he's climbing stairs.
Tyron, if you see this video, be safe. We don't want you injured. We want you to come to camp.
No running by the pool.
Exactly.
So we are here to talk defensive ends. Strategically, we left out last week. It was only me and Lorne, so we did linebackers last week. We did leave out Micah Parsons, which is quite an important note to make. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So we're doing defensive ends this week because there's going to be more of us, and both of you like to talk defensive line. Me and Lorne will just chat about all of it and any of it. But that means next week is the last of the position breakdown series. It's defensive backs next week, so big show. Got to go through a lot of players on that one. Normally we do cornerbacks and safeties, but because of obviously training camp and we missed a week, it kind of put us back a week. So we'll just do defensive backs, and then it's all done. So what I do is, as I've started every show, guys, and answer as well everyone at home, even if you're watching live or afterwards, let us know in the comments. What do you guys think about the defensive end position in general for Dallas?
It's an upgrade. Like from Mazzy Smith now into the fold, we're getting Sam Smith, who's going to put on some more muscle. We had a wee talk with him on the Cowboys Experience show. Yes. He seems to be very motivated for this upcoming season.
With his kid coming on the way.
Exactly. Shout out to Sam Williams. And also, like, D-Law seems to be having a really good off season in terms of like putting on some good lean muscle on again and that. So I'm very excited to see what our defensive line is going to do. And not to mention as well is the role of the one and only Micah Parsons. Is he going to be fully committed to the defensive line, or is he going to be back in linebacker, or is he going to be that hybrid again? So there's still questions to be asked regards to that. Yeah. So, but I feel very confident with our defensive line this year.
Yeah, defensive line in general, yes. I would say pass rushers, defensive ends. If you look at from the top, because we're including Micah Parsons in this too. Dorrance Armstrong, Sam Williams, as you say. Dante Fowler, we'll throw in the mix on this as well. I actually think from, if you want to call it defensive end 1, all the way down to the last defensive end, I actually think the Cowboys have one of the best defensive end / pass rusher groups or cores in the NFL.
I agree, and again, all credit to Aidan Durden as well. We can't forget him.
And
the whole group well, Aidan Durden in particular, because he took on the Marinelli type of defense, and it went down to diminish under Mike Nolan's guidance and. Who was the defensive lineman coach? He was the head coach of the 49ers for a brief time and coached in the NFL Europe. I can't mind his name.
Tom Sula.
That's the one, Tom Sula. Yep.
I was thinking myself.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, Tom Sula's a great coach, but I think with the connection between him and Nolan, it really degraded. They were trying to do too much, and it really took a knock-on effect. Brennan Dan Quinn who simplified it.
Disgusting!
There we go. He simplified it. Dirty took on that role and really took it back down to basics again. And we're seeing more energy coming from our defensive front, which is great. So, but yeah, we need to give a big shout out. And also, he's from the UK.
Yeah, he's the London guy. But go on, Greg, give me your thoughts. What do you think about the defensive end position, pass rushes, whatever you want to call it, because we're including Micah Parsons and Dante Fowler as well.
Yeah.
What do you think about
it? You know, they've said for a long time the game's won and lost in the trenches. You know, we didn't spend the first round pick on offense, but we did spend it on the defense. So you can't have it both ways. I mean, just from memory, you go across that defensive front. D-Law, second round pick. Micah Parsons, first round pick. You've got Dante Fowler hanging about in the background, first round pick. Mazzy Smith, first round pick. And Odigizua with
second round pick. Sam Smith.
We've got plenty invested in there. And Odigizua is probably playing above his selection, to be perfectly honest. So across the whole front, it's looking very, very good. Barring injury, obviously.
I agree, Graham, and I think the biggest, and we will dive into the players individually and stuff like that, but I will need to say that we have definitely filled a massive gap what was in our defensive line, which was the run stopping in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's Mazzy's speciality. Like, more you think about this draft pick, more and more over now, it's bringing it's basically fine tuning the trenches. It really is. So I'm very excited to see the power, the strength, what he can do, hitting that A gap, putting the centers and the guards under so much pressure to force the quarterback and the running backs to really rethink their life, pretty much. So I'm very excited for that.
I mean, you don't have to go far. I mean, even in the division, think of what the Eagles, Giants, Commanders think what they spend on defensive line, and it's all to affect our offensive line.
Eagles,
was anyway.
Eagles, do you mean the Bulldogs?
Yeah. I mean, it's a like for like copycat league. I mean, we're probably a little bit behind on defensive line because we spent so much on offensive line. But it's certainly a copycat league.
Yeah,
I think it's in a way like well, I suppose with Tyler Smith, but we really needed to draft him at that moment. But in terms
of run stopper,
but in terms of when you look at the O line, like we haven't like continuously reinvest, like keeping the train on a constant cycle. It's like we had a good 4 years of drafting, like Smith, Martin, Frederick, etc. Like
even Tyler Smith.
But that's like 7 years later.
Yeah.
But I think that's why the rest of the NFC East went so heavy on D-line, because they thought we need to get at this Cowboys offensive line or we're not going to win the division.
There you go. Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Yin to the yang.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's an interesting one for you. So there was report Mazzy Smith before the draft, and I got told this and I laughed. Mazzy Smith, I know we're talking defensive end, but we'll throw in a little inside defensive line too. He was doing about over 30 reps while bench pressing 325 pound, right? Which is insane, right? Just to let you know.
You mean 225?
No, 325. Yeah, honestly.
That's
Anyway, he's put more weight on and he's doing more reps, is what I've been told. And I was just like, well, that guy's a monster. Like that's how much strength and power this guy has.
That's insane.
Yeah. Like, have you seen the machine? He moves both hands and he pulls them either way.
Yeah, he broke it.
Yeah, 800 pound that was. He's pulling.
I remember back to the video on draft night. get me the D tackle from Michigan. Don't worry, Mike, I got you. That'll be why.
Like, I totally understand. Like, remember our reactions at first. We weren't too amused about it at first, but I think we were just too sold on the idea of what the media were saying who we should pick.
Offensive line, yeah.
Offensive line or tight end. That was the two positions because they were supposedly and it was all to do with there was Musgrave, there was the other guy went to there was is it McBride? Oh God, who's the one that went to Oakland? Las Vegas in the second round.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't even remember his name. Anyway, but you get you get my point. The media kind of basically was saying, "Yeah, you should do that. You should do that," and it kind of got us thinking, saying, and now reflecting on the draft picks, like, you know what? This is actually probably the most logical pick of all. Like, when you really look at our squad right now, what was our biggest weakness in our defense last year? It was the inside run. We never addressed that. And we've also brought in Fehoko, like, and was it the fourth round from San Jose State?
Yeah, fifth
round. Yeah. So we ended up getting another pass rusher as well to add to the fold for rotation as well, who can play some a little bit of special teams as well. So even that we have improved as well, and we've managed to retain players as well. So all in all, and it's just going to be a constant growth with this defensive front unit. Sorry, but yeah, it's I'm very excited.
Yes. So I mean, like, let's start at the top, guys. Let's talk about the defensive end pass rusher units, and we'll start obviously with the main man himself, Micah Parsons. I know some people will be like, I don't know. Me personally, I think he's going to continue the role. And the reason being is sacks and pressures are more important than playing a strong side or Sam off-ball linebacker, which is what Dan Quinn and Mike McCarthy, all these guys, I think it's smoke and mirrors. They go in, we're going to play more as a traditional off-ball linebacker. That's not happening. There's no way you're going to lose that speed and what he changes in the game. He's going to play the Leo linebacker is what he's going to play. Yeah.
I mean, there will be times where Quinn will position him somewhere else to keep teams thinking, but still,
of course.
He's trying to stunt to the edge quite a lot. So, or stunt back inside to the B gap, sorry.
To the B's gap. And yeah.
So it's either going to be edge of the B gap, pretty much. He's never going to go inside. Why would Parson need to like stunt inside to the A gap? So the only time you would ever do that is he is actually properly blitzing as a linebacker. I don't see that going to be utilized as much compared to being on the defensive edge.
Yeah. But I mean, go on, Gray, hit me with it. How many sacks are you thinking Micah Parsons going to have then this year?
I mean, certainly with the addition of Smith in the middle, there's going to be less escapability as well. Do you know what? I could easily go 11, 12.
Ooh. I'm going. So
it's getting to contract time.
That's a good point. Yeah,
and you know, I just as much as they play it down, there are a huge amount of players that play well towards the end of their contracts, and that's human nature. Let's face it, it's human nature. So, like, I think you asked the question, where do you see Parsons? I see him moving more and more to defensive end pass rusher as this contract goes on. Two reasons, basically, because it's the third highest paid position in the league.
There you go.
He's extremely good at it.
Don't forget as well, putting this in as a comparison, TJ Watt was the exact same scenario for the Steelers. He was drafted as a outside linebacker, but now he plays predominantly on the edge as a defensive end. And we're seeing that transition now with quite a lot of outside linebackers in the past. Like you had Von Miller, prime example, outside linebacker, now became a defensive end. and you're seeing it with, like, the TJ1 now, you're seeing it with Micah Parsons. So there seems to be a continuous growth when it comes to these outside linebackers fitting the mold for when it comes to the pros being more established as an edge rusher. So, absolutely.
And a lot of what the coaches and the front office is saying is, and you kind of beat me to the punch, Graham, on one of the points, is that, like, if you want to establish to the point where he's coming up to contract time, what do you want to do? He's our linebacker. He's not a defensive end, because the amount that you can offer changes considerably, especially on the 5th-year option, which is coming
huge.
out.
Yes.
So if you can convince the NFL he's a linebacker and not a defensive end, that's a massive swing in the 5th-year option in how much money he's going to get offered. And that's why they push it so much.
Is it not quite easy to call that as well? So basically, if your hand's in the dirt, you're a D end.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
and if you're standing and floating, and he is practically, when you look at it, he's a Leo linebacker. So he's floating around a lot. So because he's doing that, he is a linebacker. So that means come the 5th-year option, they're going to be saying, no, he's a linebacker. Look.
The scary thing with Parsons is he's hardly in a 3-point stance. He's always in a 2-point stance, primarily. Right?
Yeah.
So it gives him flexibility to drop back if needed, depending on the defensive play. If the edge does not proceed on the rush, Parsons has the capability to easily drop back to fit back into that linebacker role as that extra 4. So it becomes more of a 3-4 rather than being your 4-3. So there is that flexibility, and Dan Quinn has done that so well in the past. He did it with the Seahawks. He did it with Atlanta as well. Even as a head coach, he did that very well with that. So I think we're, like, I keep saying, like, predominantly edge rusher, but there is going to be scenarios where you're going to see Parsons, he will drop back from the edge and swap back inside into the linebacker role for coverage, just in case.
And also, Lawrence is 31, so he's not going to play forever. And all of a sudden, you can get to the stage where he retires, and the Cowboys say to Parsons, "Yeah, you're a defensive end now. You know, you need to go and fill that void. You need to go and take up the double block, because we're not having you dropping into coverage if we don't have DeMarcus Lawrence anymore."
Yeah, it's interesting. And, like, you know, let's segue with Tank. I mean, I think what they did with DeMarcus Lawrence last year was very, very clever. Like, you have a look, his snap count went down, but his production went up. And some people are saying his freshness, all the rest of it. When you actually go back and you have a look, obviously, as you said, he's getting a bit long in the tooth now, Gray. And, like, these players, especially at these type of positions, here and cornerback, once you get to 30s, like, the slide is fast. Running back is another one too, but that's mainly down to durability. But when you look at it, Tank is, because he's not turned into, but they were using him as a rotational player quite a lot. He's obviously going up against younger and lesser talent. And because he's experienced and he's smart, and he is a solid player, and he lost some weight to help him with the injuries, because he's going up against their rotational players, he was winning a lot more often. And I think that's what you're getting with Tank. And because they're using him that way, he stays healthier, stays fresher, gets production. And I think it's a very smart move what they've done. What are your guys' takes on Tank's season last year and how you predict for this year?
That's a great point you've made about that, because I think the prime example game was the Bengals game last year.
Yeah.
That was a prime example of that. And, I mean, obviously he's still going to be one of the go-to guys, especially in terms of, like, sealing the edge in terms of the run game. Of course. You always will need him for that. But what he now, like, he's not much as a pass rush disruptor or get to the quarterback as he used to be, but he makes offensive linemen guess quite a lot, and actually, like, really makes them screw up, and it opens the door and pathways to other players. So you're seeing all the stats boost up for other players. So he's now taking on what you would say what a defensive tackle normally does. He is, like, gaining, not, I wouldn't say the double team, but but he is seems to be the attention is going towards him and Parsons, and that is now opening up the doors for the middle for getting to the quarterback. So I think this will be very like if things are kind of projected as you're kind of saying there, Mike, I think we're going to see a good year from in the markets, and I hope so. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, just to put it in perspective, right? He's definitely rotational, just under 800 snaps for the year, right? Puts him just in the top 10 amongst defensive players. Third in sacks, second in pressures, and defensive stops. I believe he's first. He is. So the most defensive stops for the Dallas Cowboys. And he's doing that off less snaps than what he would usually have.
Paul, I'm just going to step in. I can't believe we both think that Micah Parsons is going to have a down year. Because last year he got 13.5 sacks.
When you said 9, I was like, oh, okay, you're going to buy in it.
So the reason I say that, like 9 sacks is still pretty decent, but the reason I'm going lower is because teams are going to be more aware of him, but he's going to be more. Like Parsons has that factor. He's got those clutch moments. It's going to help us win the game. Like if you put Parsons in there, and we saw, and this is a prime example when it comes to Parsons. First half of the season, he burned out. Right? And that second half of the season, you can see the wear and tear it took on him. He wasn't as effective as much. Even though he's still there, he still made plays, but he completely burned himself out. He doesn't know when to quit.
It is true.
And that's his problem. So I think Parsons does need to take a slight back seat a little bit. I know it sounds crazy to say that, folks. Yeah. I know it sounds crazy, but we do have players on our repertoire that can still come in and still do a good job. Fowler, you've got the rookie Fahoko, you've got Sam Williams, who is making big expectations on himself. He wants to get 10 plus sacks this year. So keep your eyes out for that, folks.
I mean, if 12 sacks is a down year, I'm okay with that. I think we can live with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know that, but that just goes to show you how much expectation there is on this defensive end.
Well,
and the pass rush is that. Think about it. That if you was to say, let's go back, I don't know, half a decade, and we were getting in anybody to come in and help on the defensive end side because all we had was Tank. And you said this year, I think we're gonna have a down year with 9 sacks. You'd be like, "What the what?"
I will say this: stats don't always mean everything. They don't.
Pressures are the biggest one for me for a pass rusher. Like sacks just means you went all the way through it. Yeah, pressures that means you've affected the play because you have because you've gotten in the quarterback's face, you've made him throw. You everything's off time or off target if you're in the quarterback's face. Pressures, I feel, are far more important. That's a bigger tell for me than sacks.
And here's another stat for you, Mike. You like a stat? DeMarcus Lawrence last year, 43 solo tackles. That's the best ever in his career.
Yeah, and is again going back to what we're saying, best ever on a lesser snap count.
Why cannot that be the same? Why not? Can that be the same? Give maybe take 1/10 of the snaps away from Parsons and give it to someone else, and let's see if we can even get more production off him. It could be that. Who knows?
And at 31, he played the whole season as well.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't miss. I think he had niggles during the game, but he didn't actually miss time. You'd see him on the injury report and he wouldn't be in practice because he was taking a vet day and all the rest of it. But it was, and they managed him quite well when you think about it. And losing away, I feel, was a very, very smart move. And that's helped with his durability. I know that sounds counterproductive, but I just think that the injuries he was having, especially the lower body injuries, were just because he was carrying so much weight.
I mean, put this in comparison as well. There was a point with the Eagles with Fletcher Cox as well. Fletcher Cox was getting the reduced snaps, but he was still being productive, if not more as well. So why not? Can that be the same for your seasoned vets, likes of DeMarcus Lawrence? And then what you can now say, Parsons is a seasoned vet now. He's been in the league for 3 seasons now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we'll get on to the other guys, but obviously you can't take Lawrence out of plays if you've nobody else to put in. And that's the very reason why Sam Williams is there, obviously. But we'll get on to those guys. But that, I mean, the Eagles can do that with Fletcher Cox because they've spent so much capital on D-line. And it looks as if we're starting to get that way as well now.
And the Eagles, they never blitz. All their pressure comes up front. It's incredible to watch.
It's crazy to look back on what the Eagles have done in recruitment. Like the majority, I would say the past 10 years, when you look at their first-round draft picks, the majority of their first-round draft picks have been defensive ends or defensive tackles. They have drafted a wide receiver. They have drafted an offensive tackle, I believe, in the last 10 years. But other than that, it has been primarily been guys in the trenches from the Eagles. Like even this year alone, like the Georgia Bulldogs, the Philly Bulldogs, whatever you want to call them now.
Here's one for you. I like, as we've been sitting here just chatting to Dave Hellman, and I said, well, what's more likely? We're talking here. CeeDee Lamb gets 1,500 yards receiving, or Micah Parsons gets 15 or more sacks.
Parsons.
That's what Dave Hellman's just said.
Parsons. Yeah.
He said that's more likely.
Yeah.
Partly because there's only one ball to go around, but Parsons brings it every single play. I mean, he's 13. He's averaging 13 sacks a season, like 13 in his first, 13 in his second. There was no sophomore slump from Parsons.
Yeah.
If anything, he got better.
Yeah,
which was incredible.
He solidified himself pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I know we breezed past Tank because I think they're going to see much the same this year. We're going to see much of the same snap cat. Like basically they've found a winning formula with DeMarcus Lawrence at this stage of his career, and he's taken the team-friendly contract as well, which to me says he doesn't want to go anywhere else. And he's going to finish as a Dallas Cowboy, however long it is, however he's got left in, excuse the pun, however much he's got left in the tank so that it's going to be that. But when you think about this, right, think about how incredible that is. How often do you see this, that a team drafts a defensive end and you look at that contract, like he's Tank isn't playing beyond what's left on that contract. But think about this. They drafted a defensive end and he stayed on one team all the way through his entire playing history in the NFL. That's insane. Yeah. When you think as well, he was that far away from being cut.
Yeah. I mean, regular listeners to the show will know that I haven't always been 90s biggest fan in the past.
Yeah.
I've certainly given him not stick, but
you have given credit when it's due, Graham. You have. You've been extremely fair. Like you're seeing it as it is, and don't get me wrong. I'm the same.
His contract. If I'm paying a defensive end or a defensive tackle that amount of money, I need him to have a higher sack count because getting to the quarterback is it's not the be all and end all, but it's pretty high, and for me, a lot of the time it wasn't happening. But now that he's got a bookend on the opposite side, you're seeing teams have to go his way. They can't just run away from him anymore, and that's obviously pushing the stat count an awful lot higher because if you don't go towards 90, you're going towards one of the best defensive players in the league. So the bookend helps Tank Lawrence. And I will also admit there's a very high ceiling with Tank Lawrence. He maybe not hit the heights all the time, but you are getting a very, very consistent player.
Yeah,
and
every season.
Go on, Paul. Go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say I'm in complete full agreement with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I was going to say, just to add on with Tank before we move on, is another big thing that I think is massively underrated. And you hear it year after year, the same thing coming up. All the rookies that come in say, he is the tank. Is just like he is the consummate leader, and the amount that they learn from him as soon as they come in is insane. They're just like, yeah, this guy can teach. Like the amount of what we learn from him and how positive he is in a locker room as a leader is really big. And I think that's a bit that's underrated with Tank, because you hear it year after year. It was on the Hard Knocks. They're talking about it. But let's move on to the next guy. Someone who I was high on every time we got to about this stage of the season, and then he just fizzled out, is Dorrance Armstrong. Now, last year, he actually came right on. Second on the team in sacks, believe it or not, with 8.5 sacks, third in pressures with 43, 10 tackles for a loss as well. This guy, on top of what he done as a defender and a pass rusher, he was also insanely good on special teams. Blocked a punt.
Tackle for loss is as good as a sack.
Exactly.
Especially in the run game. Especially in the run game. Because it shows
it is a sack. It is a sack in the run game.
Yeah. It is a sack technically, if you want to really put it down to that, because you've still beat your man, you've got beyond the line of scrimmage, and you've made the hit. So what more do you want? Yeah. So any tackle for loss or sack, if it's anything beyond the line of scrimmage and it forces the offense yards back and makes it harder for them to get a first down, great. That's exactly what you want. But yeah, and I think to summarize Dorrance Armstrong is finally. That's how I felt with Dorrance Armstrong this year. It felt like we should actually get the Rock finally sound clip on this as well. That's one thing we should do. Anyway, but that's how I kind of generally felt. It's like, because how many years has been Jerry's boy? He looked great in preseason, but never came to fruition. This year, he stepped up big time. Well, last season, sorry. He stepped up.
Yeah. And like I say, it's like you can't dismiss what he did on special teams as well. Every time he was getting on the field, whether it was in his sort of like his semi sort of designated pass rusher type role, and what he was doing on special teams, the guy was just making plays. He was out there doing his thing. And like, it's surprising as well, I think, with him, with his size and everything, like how quick he is. He's nippy out there, if he needs to come out onto the flat. But here's an interesting one. I actually think, tell me what you think, Greg. Dorrance Armstrong is going to outdo last year's production this year. Purely because, contract year.
Yes, that was right on the edge. That was right on the edge of my tongue.
Yeah. Hit me with it, Greg. Go on, tell me what you think.
I mean, you can't pay everybody.
Yeah, true.
And wouldn't it be just like the Cowboys to grow, nurture, develop, and
never give up on.
Let them sail off into the sunset, win a Super Bowl somewhere else.
Oh, hell no!
That's perfect timing.
But it's highly likely he has as good a season, if not last year. And we've got some pretty big contracts coming up, and we'll see. Getting hugely ahead of ourselves, but we'll see what offers he gets, because Tank coming off the field means Lawrence or Williams is going on to it, so obviously they're going to have more opportunity and so on. But yeah, it was nice to see him. It was nice to see him actually show up at the party, and guys come in and out all the time. You lose in free agency, you gain in free agency. And if he has one more big year and goes off and makes money somewhere else, because, you can't really deny him that. He has, he has worked for it. He has worked for it. Exactly. He's not, and, he still has one big contract left in him.
Yeah. It's a big year for him.
Big.
But there's always going to be that, college players have the 1 year wonder, tag NFL players a lot of the time get, is it a contract year performance? You know, are we going to pay this guy 80 million over 4 years and he vanishes into the special teams and whatever? So we'll see what happens. But you just hope that he has another big year and gives himself the opportunity to get well paid because he's worked hard enough for it. This will be his 7th year with the Cowboys.
And he's only 26.
Yeah,
which is crazy. He's going to be 27
Yeah.
this year, and it's just wild because when you think about it, it seems like he's just always been at the Cowboys. When you think about it, you just think back and you're like, oh yeah, it's Dorrance Armstrong. He's there. It just seems to be that he's just there. He's never gone away. But last year,
I said 7, it's 6. He's got a void year.
This is his
got a
6th
void
year.
year.
Yeah. He is earning quite a bit, mind you, this year, but that's the defensive end position for you. But I think a lot of it, you know, I know it's that he's been stuck on a rotational role. I think some of it as well was just giving him opportunity, giving him chance. And they decided to give him more opportunity, more chance. And lo and behold, this is the result. Because you got to remember, he was actually in Kansas. He was actually a very decent player. He was fairly good. He was productive, especially as he got later on into the career. So it's no surprise that this is what we're seeing from Armstrong. Yeah.
He wasn't a walk-on 4th rounder.
Yeah. So it's quite. I'm quite interested, but I do feel he's going to go up in terms of production because he's just got to. He's just got to go all out at this stage, you know, and go for nothing. But a question more about next year, more opposed to this year, is Dante Fowler going to make the final roster cut? Do you guys think?
I think he will.
Yeah,
it's one of Dan Quinn's guys. I think.
True.
I think he's still I think he's one of the type of guys he can still provide a service to the Cowboys. I think. I mean, it's we just need to wait and see, really. I think where it comes to cutting down, is it 55-man squad now, or is it still 53?
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, 53, yeah.
Still 53, right? Because I don't know if the cuts from the defensive ends are going to be that much. I don't think it's really going to be that much on defense, really. I think it's going to be more on who you're not, your number 6 wide receiver or whoever is going to be, or the guys that are going to make the special teams type of guys. It's going to be, because I'm looking at the depth chart right now, there's only 6 linebackers there. That is, let me just double check. We've got 8 defensive ends. So there's Parsons, Armstrong, Fowler, Golston, Sam Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, Fehoko Jr., and Darrell Johnson. If one of them, it'd probably be Darrell Johnson out of the whole lot.
He might make the practice squad.
Yeah, maybe the practice squad, but yeah, but you get what I'm saying. So
yeah.
But if anything, it probably might be more on the defensive tackles. We've got 6 there. So
because I mean, Dante Fowler is getting up there in age. I think they got exactly what they wanted out of him. Didn't want to push him too far, injuries and all the rest of it, durability concerns. So I reckon that sort of that snap count they had him on, you know, the pitch count, that's how to play him. Play him as your secret weapon. When you need your players are getting a little bit gassed, just go and put Fowler out there. He's not going to get his hand down in the dirt. He's good at blitzing, coming inside.
He's going to mix it up. Yeah. That's
really
why
he's so fast.
That's what I like about Fowler. And that's why the Jags drafted him in that first round all those years ago. Because he was able to really mix up and confuse offenses at his speed. So
yeah, and you just use him as a just as a pure designated pass rusher. You're not on any type of rotation, just on a pitch count, designated pass rusher on obvious passing downs. Just that's your guy. You don't want him to get injured. Keep him fresh. Keep him working that way. And it's perfect. It worked well, and the results are. They were telling that he got 6 sacks, which I think was 4th on the team.
I will say this is one of my all-time favorite sayings about anything when it comes to football, when it comes to your everyday life. Less is more. the less like you need to deal with on the field in terms of steam and stuff like that, the less you can actually like take on, the more you can be productive on that.
Yeah.
Those lesser roles. So I think if you just single out Fowler, this is what we just want you to do. Go out and do your job, as the great Bill Belichick would say. Just do your job, rather than having to do this and do that and do that and do that. And you're going to have a more diminished, washed out version of that player. But if you just keep them down to a more singular, like a more limited roles of what they're supposed to be doing, then you're going to get more out of them from that. It's not exactly rocket science, if you know what I mean, but it works. We're seeing that with D-Law, and we're seeing that with other players in the past. Less is more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. So talking of less is more, what about a guy who's going to get more than he had less of last year? If that works. But anyway,
I know where you were going with that, but yes, yes, Mr. Sam Williams.
It worked. Yeah. So bear in mind, right? This is I'll give you Sam Williams' numbers, right? And then I'm going to give you the sneaky take on this. So Sam Williams, right? 22 tackles, 22 pressures, 4 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss, 15 defensive stops, right? All within the top 10 of all the defensive plays in those statistical categories. Only did that on 275 defensive snaps. Most of the players we all talked about have 600 or more.
So that was 1/3 of the production.
Of the chance that he got. So you think if they're going to put him now, he's been with the strength and conditioning coaches, been with all of the positional coaches and watching tape, off season, time to think, reevaluate. Like you say, Paul, we spoke with him. He's fired up and ready to go. He's got his motivation. You can see it. He's ready to go. More opportunity. I think you're going to see, for me personally, I see Sam Williams as this year's breakout star. He's going to break out this season.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say for definite, but I will say I expect to see a lot more him on the field this year.
More opportunity, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
more opportunity, 100%.
Yeah,
what do you think, Graham?
Look around his teammates. You've got Dorrance Armstrong on the last year of his deal. DeMarcus Lawrence is 31. Dante Fowler's not getting any younger.
I don't think he's on this team next year, by the way, Dante Fowler.
The opportunity, the opportunity's there. You don't need a bigger carrot than that.
And especially for being a second-round draft pick, you want to get more production out of him, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, for a second-round draft pick and for the numbers that he had in his rookie season, that seems about right. You're pretty much getting a third compared to your stars to get him adjusted into the scenario. Now's the year you really want to kind of say, right, I am now worthy of that second-round draft pick. Put me on that field. I want to tear up the NFL. Pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. And just to, he's shown you how much strength and power he's got when he picked up that running back, threw him like an empty windsock.
Yeah, I mean, he's a long way away from that video. Paul, you remember the video I'm talking about?
I remember the video.
Very, very stiff, very rigid, and you thought, "Oh, that was spent a second rounder," but he's very, very far away from that video, and he's moved on.
I even told Sam Williams to his face that like he made me eat a humble pie when I was over in Texas last year, and he's like, "I did." It's like, what made you change your mind? Is like, you're just become more mobile. You're actually not as upright anymore. And I'm not an expert. I'm not claimed to be, but the fact is, you should see significant change. That was more than enough for me, and you're seeing that on the field when he actually is on the field. So he's got the thumbs up for me. So I'm really happy for him.
It wasn't as if we picked up on a video that appeared in DallasCowboys.com just at random. This was flagged up on social media. It was like, have you seen this video?
It was the Ole Miss Pro Day.
Yeah. It wasn't a quick highlight from a meaningless game.
Yeah. And even some of the games as well, he was playing like you did see his dominance in terms of like his straight line speed was great. Like forcing the tackles going back and beyond the line of scrimmage, fantastic. But it was the whole lateral speed we had the issues with, changing sense of direction. How is he able to bend? He seemed to have got that nailed down now. And I think again, credit to Aidan Dudley. Learning the basics, all that type of stuff. So
yeah. I mean, you're going to get issues with players in the later rounds. They're going in the first. They're not going in the first round for a reason. They've either got red flags or something needs worked on or developed or this, that, and the other. We've said that 100 times. But a year of solid football has obviously been very, very good for him. Spending loads of time with the coaches. I mean, he's out in that practice field 5 days a week now. There's no college or studying to worry about. It's just pure football now, and obviously he's listening to Dudley and taking everything on, and hopefully he steps into I don't know, fill somebody's shoes in a couple of years' time, or if he has a breakout year, then because obviously they say it every year, but this will be his full first off season, and he'll be able to develop, spend time relaxing, spend time working on what's needed, like specifics in the gym and so on. And obviously working in that department with Parsons, Lawrence, you're going to learn an awful lot in the off season as well. So hopefully he just keeps progressing.
See, that's the thing though, Graham. Like they call it a rookie season for a reason.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to pick up these traits from the more experienced players. How much more bigger and physical these guys you're going to be teammates with, and you need to go up there and try and match that, if not, and be better than that, in order to be the guy on the field. So Sam Williams knows exactly what to do. He's even stated that when he was talking to me and Mike on Cowboys Experiences show, and he's, like Mike said, he's ready. He's ready to go, and you can see like the anticipation. He is dying to like go full tilt on this. Full on. Sorry, not full tilt.
No, yeah, and the family thing was a good one because he's just like, that's my motivation. But I think as well, you can see he understands the business of the game, and that's an important one. If you can understand that this is your opportunity for you to treat this, and basically this is the business, the football is the business, and the product is your body and what you can produce, and he gets that.
Preston Pearson did a lot of night, so we had two guests on that show. We had Preston Pearson, and him and Sam Williams had a nice wee conversation together. They just kind of went off in their little conversation, and Preston's telling him about the business side. Just make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing that,
and he understood it,
and he was taking it all in, taking it in like a sponge. So yeah.
So moving on though, those guys have solidified their roles, I feel.
Yeah.
Donne Fowler is the only one I've got question marks on, purely because of age. But as you say, Paul, he's got he's got Dan Quinn, and he's a Dan Quinn guy. So I think he sticks around this year, if anything. But then beyond that, I don't think I think he's moving on again. But
yeah, like especially
just an overall question: how many linemen do you think they keep?
6, no, possibly 7, depending on the special teams.
I actually think they keep 3 nose tackles.
Oh, that's a good. No, you'll need more than. I think 4 at the very minimum.
Oh, I mean, like, so you'll have Bohana, Mazzy, and Hankins. Then you got Osa. Gallimore is my guy who's. And then you got Golston.
Well, Golston,
right now, ESPN have Fowler on the 3rd string. That's why I asked.
Yeah,
he would be the 9th player.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the depth chart as well on ESPN.com. So Mazzy Smith, Osa de Grisur are your starting inside linemen. Then it's Hankins and Gallimore. Then it's Bohana, then Araton, who used to be an offensive lineman. That's going to be an experiment. We haven't even discussed that. How's he running the transition as well? Like
they've said he looks good, but I don't know.
We're just going to have to wait and see. It could be one of those training camp medicals. He will make the team type of thing. Who knows?
I think that Gallimore is the one at the moment who's struggling to carve himself a path. And it's your three nose tackles, Osa Golson, and then whatever arrangement you want to do with the defensive ends. Because the biggest issue we got at the moment, I feel, that's taken up, and it's just the way that it's gone, is there's going to be 4 tight ends on this roster and 4 running backs.
Crazy. I really don't know. I
big jump.
Yeah, I really don't know how we're going to do that when it comes to the 53-man show, doing our own depth chart. Like I really don't know how we're going to go about this, but yeah, like, but back to your original question, mate. I do think Fowler for this year, fine. Next year, depending on what we do in the draft, we're likely going to get an ad defensive end somewhat in the mid rounds for an ad defensive end just to fill that gap or something like that. Like for next year. So Fowler will go out. Golson will be in his final year as well next year. Am I right?
Possibly. You're probably right there.
But I think with like Gallimore, I think Gallimore is also the one that, as much as I hate to admit it, because I love Neville Gallimore when he was playing back in college, loved him, but it just hasn't been the guy I was expecting to make it to the pros, and it breaks my heart seeing that. Like,
because he was supposed to be an inside tackle that can pass rush,
he was mostly utilized in college as a one tech, but we've been playing him as a free tech mostly.
So to answer your question, Paul, Golson's got 2 years left.
Is it 2 years? Just thanks, Graham. Much appreciated.
2 years.
But so I think Gallimore has an uphill battle when it comes to this training camp because we don't know what Boana's going to do, but I think it's safe to say Mazzy, Osa, and Hankins are definitely your 3 are going to make the team. Definite.
Then it depends which way they want to go, in my opinion.
It's the 4th.
Yeah. If they want to predicate more on stopping the run, Bohana is the guy that they'll keep.
I think so.
If they feel they've got enough pass rushers, they've got enough bodies to be able to rush the quarterback, Gallimore doesn't make it. If, however, though, they think, no, the strength of this team is getting to the quarterback and pressurizing the quarterback, drop Bohana, keep Gallimore. Because you add more firepower to it's strength on strength.
And I might do a Uno reverse card on you in this one as well. It's like they might actually utilize Golston as the Tyron Crawford of this.
That's what it's going to be. That's where he's going. He's moving up and down that line from he's going literally as a wide 9 all the way down to the A gap as a one tech.
Yeah.
The best ability is availability.
True. But
and we saw the versatility of Tyron Crawford over the years. He's been and it worked. Like he bulked up if he was playing the more hybrid role within, moving along the trenches, like from being a 5 tech to a 3 tech to a 1 tech, even playing heads up as a 3 heads up to a guard, for example. Like he's done it all, and Golston showed glimpses of that. Maybe not up to the same stature as Tyron Crawford, but we saw some really good glimpses of that last year.
Yeah. It depends where they really what they want to choose to do with Golston. They need to make a choice. I mean, like, it hasn't been perfect with Golston, but you've seen flashes of it. Like, if you was to say, what has Golston done for us so far? You just be like, is the noise you make. You know, it's not like he's taken the position by storm, but he's done enough to be able to solidify a position for now.
I agree. I think Golston's still going to be part of this team, 100%. I totally agree with you in that. But it's a tough one. But
But bear in mind, you've still got 4 other guys. You've got Ben Bonago, who's been looking good.
Oh, I forgot about him. Yeah.
You got Tyrus Wheat, who's the undrafted free agent from this year, who I think makes the practice squad, and that's going to be it for him for now. Dole Johnson, you mentioned as well. And you've also got Villami or Junior for Hoko. They need to they're going to take a roster spot. You would expect for Hoko to.
I like Fahoko. I like him. Like I like his get off. I like
His first step is insane.
his first step's insane, and I like his hand placement in terms of getting off the blocks. Like I think with quite a lot of college players going into the pros, the problem is the size and strength. That's the problem.
Yeah, big time.
So I think if Fahoko was just to really improve his strength and whatever, I know again it's just a rookie season, Like give him next season if he's bulked up a little bit, then I think that's when I'll start putting more eyes on him because we're not expecting much from Fahoko, but I think you will see some glimpses in the preseason games to see him what he can potentially do. But yeah, we'll just need to wait and see.
And he's a blue collar guy, so you would expect him to bulk up and be able to get up there because, like, that's why his motor is always hot. Like that guy is not hot and cold. That motor is hot like to the point where you're like, okay, we're gonna get a penalty here if you don't stop in a minute.
I just hope Fahoko doesn't turn out like the defensive end we drafted late a couple of years back from the Hawaiian defensive end. What's his name again? You know exactly who I'm talking about. And he had an incredible get off, like one of the best get offs I've seen, like for being a 7th rounder, but just never made it. And there was a reason why. He just could not put the weight on. Really.
I tell you who else that reminds me of as well that you've just described is another guy, and I cannot remember Tristan Hill.
Yes, Tristan Hill.
Yeah. He's another guy where like incredible get, but just like it just never translated, never got to that point, developed enough. So I think Dole Johnson, I'm not sure. There's a lot of rawness to his game. Fajoko's gonna have to do. They will want him to make a roster spot. Whether he does, I don't know. And then you've got Ben Bernardo.
Just to give a wee update about Tristan Hill, he's now with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. That's usually where they're or the Raiders is where all the Cowboys cut off seem to go to, doesn't it?
Wow, shots fired.
Yeah.
Some go to the Chiefs and win Super Bowls, but no.
True, that also happens. Yeah.
Stop it.
But yes, so overall I like the defensive ends for the Cowboys. When you look at that from top to bottom, of all the position groups, I think the Cowboys defensive end pass rushers is the deepest and the best.
Yeah,
and that defense is predicated on creating pressure, getting to the quarterback, and everything works back from that.
And it kind of goes back, and Lauren will back me up on this. It's like the more you put the pressure on getting beyond that line of scrimmage, it's going to make our linebackers' jobs easier and our defensive backs' job easier. That's it. It all starts in the trenches. Every snap starts there. So if you can create that instant pressure from the get-go, it's going to make Overshawn's job easier. It's going to make Trevor Diggs easier.
LVEs.
Exactly. So it's a chain reaction from the trenches all the way back to the secondary.
Yeah.
Every time.
That's right. So, right then, let's do this and we can get out of here. Hit me with it, Mr. Paulius Maximus Meridius.
Yes, guys, if you're planning on going to a Dallas Cowboys game this year, be sure to go and check out cowboysexperience.com for game tickets, meet and greets, stadium tours, and much, much more.
Yeah, and obviously go and check out our travel package. You'll find it on our social media. If not, send us a message and we can hit you with all the information and details about that. And then,
yes. I was going to say there, mate. If you are already registered, we are creating a WhatsApp group within everyone that's going, so we can all keep in tabs with each other and all hang out together, so we all know what we're doing when it comes to November time.
And what cigars to smoke as well, Paul.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Ooh, up in smoke, baby. All right, but hit me with this then, Graham. And then we'll shut the show down. But hit us with it, Mr. Gray.
So you're thinking to yourself, most of the teams on holiday right now, there's not really much to talk about. If you go on the NFL website, every team's going to win the Super Bowl this year. Every position looks great. Every player is going to have the best season they've ever had. Everybody thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl.
True.
And a camera shoved in their face and they don't know what else to say. Around the corner, and these guys on the screen will have it covered. No doubt about it. Listening to our content, you've listened to all our content through the week. Make sure you check out these guys. Talking Cowboys, The Break, Big Game James, Cowboys Fans Only, Skywalker Steel. Loads of good content coming up. Oxnard is only a couple of weeks away.
Yeah.
The content is going to go through the ceiling, folks.
Yeah, and just to add on as well, like, be sure to go and join us to our official Facebook group, because obviously we're gonna in the future we're gonna have some meetups together. We're gonna have some competitions for our UK-based fans, and much more. So be sure to go. Yeah, be sure to go and join our Facebook group, because that's where all the action does happen within our group. So be sure to go and join.
I will add one more though. We're now on Threads.
Shit. Yeah, we're on. We're on Threads as well. So we're on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, Spotify, you name it. So you can all find us all there. But guys, be sure if you like what we're doing, give us a little follow, hit the subscribe button, and be sure to go and come and chat with us and hang about with us on our Facebook group, because that's what our community is all about. We're just the UK Cowboys fans, and yeah, that's it.
Yes, and then obviously find the other show with Cowboys Experience and the World Team of Blogging the Boys and our articles over at SB Nation as well. But that is it for this week, folks. We will be back next week talking defensive backs before Oxnard strikes. So join us next week for the final position breakdown series. But as we do every week, these guys have the final word, and then we'll get out of here. So hit us with us, guys.
You go first, Graham.
Just think, the team is never healthier than it is right now. Isn't that a scary thought?
You know me, guys. I say it all the time. Dallas forever, Philly forever. Let's go. Let's go, Cowboys.
Yeah. I like it.